Today we'll be working on my 2007 BMW X5 4.8i with the N62 motor. It's developed you can kind of hear it. It becomes more prominent when the car warms up, but it's developed a noisy pulley that will change tone when you activate or deactivate the AC compressor. So there's an idler pulley built into the tensioner for the belt. There's a dedicated belt just for the AC compressor, and that idler pulley appears to have had its bearings go out. As the car warms up, it's only been started for less than a minute now, but as the car warms up, that noise will become more prominent, and basically I'm going to show you a trick to change that pulley. Normally if you have an X5 4.8 and you want to order the pulley, you got to buy the whole tensioner assembly. It's like $110 and it's just a very simple device. It's just manual, there's no automatic tensioning, but what I found is they do sell a replacement pulley for the N62 motors inside the like a E60 or 750, etc., or 6 Series, any car that uses this motor. They have an automatic tensioner for the AC. I believe it's just part of the main serpentine belt, and from what I can tell anyway, you know, you could buy that thing for 40 bucks and it's a much more robust setup. It's funny that it's cheaper, but the actual pulley itself can be ordered separately, and I bought one for 8 bucks, 8 something, shipped to my door, and it appears to be exactly the same. So once I show you how the stock tensioner works, there's nothing wear and tear in that. It's just a couple bolts and lockdown nuts to actually set your tension, but the pulley itself is the only thing that could wear and tear, and I was able to order one that appears to be identical for like 8 something. So it avoids you buying a whole setup for no reason, spending $100 and some odd. So I'll let this warm up just slightly, just so that we can hear the AC compressor tensioner pulley making noise. So I don't want too much heat to get into this motor right now, since it's at overnight. I don't want it to be all hot while I'm working in there, but you can just make it out. It's much more pronounced on a cooler day. And when you activate your AC compressor, you can kind of get rid of that sound a little bit, but it doesn't go away completely, but it can get quite loud. You hear that? It's like a chirping sound almost. That gets like almost like a clanking sound. It gets much more pronounced. Like a ringing, chirping sound. So that's the noise we're going to try to tackle today, and I'll show you the part I ordered. Yeah, it's really starting to go now. It's funny that you can hear more back here. It's just reflecting. There you go. Now you can really hear it. I'll put the AC on to show you the difference. There's the noise. I'll activate the AC. AC compressor is activated now. It's a noticeable change in the sound. Not completely gone, but it changes the sound. So I got the car jacked up slightly, and it's supported on a jack stand. Got my e-brake set. So I'm just using a stubby Phillips screwdriver. There's a number of Phillips head screws, quick release, to actually undo, just like this. One quick turn and it comes out. You'll see a number of these under the car. So just basically we'll go after these, for instance. One here. They should stay captive in their spot. Release away. There's one here. Once you do that, the whole thing wants to hang like that. What happens is that's just your clip here. Stick it back into place. It happened just because I was working one-handed, really. So slide that out of the way, and we'll have access to where we're working. So it's a little messy under here because I used to have coolant leaks and oil leaks that I've since repaired. So haven't power washed down here, and you can still see some remnants of it, but you know, now I fixed all that. There's the actual pulley itself right there. So this is what I suspect is making the noise. There is the AC belt. There is the set screw. It's a Torx right there. So I'm gonna try to loosen the tension. There's actually a bolt up above that you got to release to have it start being adjustable, but that's the whole mechanism that you normally have to replace, and I'll show you what I bought. So here's what I bought for an N62 tensioner. It's a tensioner pulley, but it's meant to mount on a different tensioner. So far as I can tell, it's the same pulley itself, and you don't have to spend $100 and something bucks. You spend eight some odd dollars. It's got the everything to just stick it on. The only thing you got to take off the old pulley is that cap. So if everything works out, it should be an easy job. So I'll first release tension on that actual belt and then go about swapping this pulley on. So you're going to want a set of Torx bits like this to get started. And I believe the one adjusting screw is a T50. I'll try it on and let you know. There's this bracket here that's just held in with the 10 mil. It kind of holds, I think, the power steering lines up and away from the belts. It's just one 10 mil. So I'm going to release that. Give me some more room. At least I won't be getting my arm all scratched up on there while I'm trying to work. I'd recommend you do the same. I know this looks messy now, but it used to be really bad. So now I can have some more room to stick the Torx bit into. So as you see, it's got to go right there, up on there. So I'm going to have to do this off camera, but basically you have a lock screw above that, and you have this to set tension. So first thing I should do is undo the lock screw and back this down. So I'll tell you what it ends up being. So to undo the actual adjuster up top, there's going to be 2 bolts we're dealing with. It's going to be easier to just stick your hand down from here. So you want to take that out. And then there's a little tab you press here, right here, to allow you to lift up on it, like that. That part snaps back in, and then you gotta take this piece out. And you're supposed to wedge a screwdriver in between here and here to just kind of get clearance around these tabs, and it's very brittle, so I'm going to use 2 hands to do that. There's the part removed, so it just snaps into here and then snaps into here. It has those 2 pieces. Put it on the floor now. Now I'll have access to stick the ratchet on. It's going to be hard to show you much here, but let's see the best I can do here. So we're going to focus in right here. See if I can get it to focus. So that is the bolt from the bottom that sets adjustment, and then there's a through bolt here that we may be able to just make out. You can see the top of it right there. That, yeah, so as I was saying, right down in there is the adjustment for that pulley. Okay, so it should be a T40. I'm going to release that bolt, get some, just got to do a couple turns so that the mechanism can slide up and down, and then from the bottom you release the lower bolt to set adjustment. You just got to back that down a few turns until the belt can slip off. Then we can unlock the pulley from the actual adjuster mechanism. So this is what I ended up doing. It was on there pretty good, lots of tension. So I used a 1/2 inch for more leverage, 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter, and a T40 bit. That actually gave you a perfect amount of spacing, so that it'll be easy to have clear access. I popped this off just to give me a little more wiggle room, and I just lifted this off here. The clips, set it aside, so I have this area here to work with. Now I can go underneath the car and try to release tension. So this is what I had to use to get in there. 6-inch extension, a wobble joint, the T40 Torx, and some electrical tape on it so it would hold some rigidity. And I was able to slide the belt off the pulley. There's the adjuster nut. You're going to just move this out of the way slightly. It's just a steel line. You can get an inch of movement out of it, no problem. It's not going to hurt anything. So now you had the 1 lock screw here. You can see the whole mechanism going up and down. You had the 1 lock screw up at the front of it that you'd get from the top. So now that I have the belt off, I've changed this belt. It's in okay condition still. So I'm just going to focus on getting this that pulley off of here now. So I don't think I have to take the whole adjuster mechanism off to do that. If I have to, it's not the end of the world, but I'm just going to pop this cap off, see if I can release the screw for this from here. So here's the cap for that hides the bolt. Just use a flathead screwdriver and wedge it in, and we'll go after this bolt now. I think it's a T30. Okay, so it's actually a T45, and just with the bit right on the end of your socket, you got tons of wiggle room here and tons of swinging room, so it's a piece of cake to release this. There you go. The whole mechanism, the whole pulley pulls right off. Let's see if you can get an idea of what this mechanism looks like. So you got the 1 bolt here and the 1 bolt here. Super simple. So you're, for a tiny piece of metal here, they make you pay $100 and some odd when all you needed is a pulley, and it's a simple, useless part. So it's kind of unfair that they charge so much. It's just a way to mark things up because it fits on an X5 really. So here are the two pulleys side by side. The new one and the old one. I can already tell that I gotta change this. So I'm actually gonna just, this piece on the back here, I'm gonna keep that, and this bolt here, and I'll not use any of this stuff here. It's unnecessary. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm just rolling this O-ring off here. Lift up on this, and put this aside. So now what we end up with is something virtually identical to the one that comes on the car. The only thing you gotta do is stick this through here. It locks right in perfectly. And this will lock into the back of the bearing. I'll compare that to the old. This is the one that came with it. See, it fits right in that groove. So I'll go put this on the car now, and I'll double check that that little cover snaps on first. So here's the original cover on this new bearing. It snaps right on, just like OEM. So yeah, don't get ripped off if you know how to order these parts. So we'll stick that back on the car now. So the removal, the reinstallation is just the opposite of the removal. I'll get things set back up. But that's the gist of this video. Ultimately, you can get the pulley you need for $8 instead of $100 and some odd to fix your tensioner on your X5, and I'll show you what the two different tensioners look like and how I found this out. So I changed that pulley and I'm ready to give it a start now. To be honest with you, I found out I changed that whole tensioner mechanism back when I first got this car nearly 5 years ago. It was pretty much the exact same noise, so I figured it must have just went out again. But upon inspection, it didn't feel bad, and I think I can hear something in the AC compressor or pulley. I think the bearing, the front bearing, is shot inside the actual pulley, so I may have to do that instead. So nonetheless, this video should be just as useful to many people, because at around, I'd say 90,000 miles, that that tensioner was bad, and it was actually that, and it's been quiet all these years until now. So you will likely, around 100,000 miles, go through that AC compressor belt tensioner pulley. This will save you a good $100. So anyway, we'll give it a start and see if it made a difference. We gave it a start. Let the idle settle out and see if it makes a difference. I'll update you in a minute when it warms up. Not like it makes a difference. It's not that useful to many people to know whether or not it fixed my situation. If you have this noise, the first place to start is that pulley. And if you're unlucky enough to have your AC compressor bearing going, then that's stage 2. It would be a lot better to spend $8 to try to fix it than it would be to spend $100 and realize you didn't need that whole setup. Alright, so still there for me. Not too upset about it because I didn't spend a lot of money, and at least this video will be useful to some people. My next stage is going to be to go after that AC compressor pulley and see if I have to order the whole clutch assembly or what it will take to change out that bearing now. So this is what I ended up ordering. This is the actual tensioner bearing by itself. You can find it on eBay. There's a listing for it, $856 delivered to my door, just for your reference. So that's the complete tensioner assembly. That's a lot more sophisticated and seems to be more expensive to manufacture, 45 bucks, or you'll find the actual pulley. As I showed before, you can find it for as cheap as $8 bucks or so. So this is what I was talking about. This is the actual mechanism. It's very simple. It's expensive, and so 107 bucks. You will not find one for less than that. Amazon, doesn't matter where you go. Turns out I'm going to end up needing this, the clutch kit, because the actual problem is within here, the bearing that's inside here that seems to be making noise, so far as I can tell. So I'll have another video coming for that, but for now, that is the original pulley. And wow.